rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Today is June 15th, 2017. The Environmental Conservation Board. We have an agenda that we're going to follow, and we'll start it now. The first item is Patrick McGovern for an extension of wetland permit. Please come up and state your name and who you're here to represent.
Patrick McGovern. I'm representing myself, the property owner of 208 Daisy Lane in Carmel.
Okay. You want the construction of your garage at 208 Daisy Lane in Carmel. You have no change. You had to have change companies do the work, and it was taking longer than planned. A one-year extension should be sufficient. I would request that this be placed on the agenda today. Nothing on the plans have changed,
No,
and you're gonna build it as per the approved plans.
I'm working with another company. It's, yes, I have to get additional plans. It's going to be the same structure, same foundation, everything.
Same footprint?
Same footprint.
Are you changing the roof at all
No,
from what was in the original
I
plan?
think it might actually be shorter. Be anything. It's
So there's no,
it's still like a barn style, like a gable.
is there any additional impervious surface that's being put in? Additional driveway, additional roof coverage, anything like that?
Same location, same foundation?
Same location. I didn't want to change anything up.
Same plan, no modification.
Yeah, he did, there is a modification.
He
He's
said there is
changing, he's changing
But-
some of the structure.
Okay, but we're only looking at the footprint.
Right, as long as the footprint, the water doesn't.
And he still has
nothing
he
water
has
changing.
still shows a concrete wash area, the low stone, the rain garden, everything, rain garden too.
You're changing the building, will that affect the rain garden at all? Runoff from the building going to the same spot?
Everything's gonna be exactly the same as far as the foundation. I got approval from the man who did the original plans to use his plans for the foundation. It's gonna be like a kind of a modular instead of a stick build. So they're just gonna put it on the exact same foundation and just bring it in modular. It's still gonna be a kind of a barn style.
How much work has been done?
None.
And nothing on the gutters are gonna be changing, or where the water is gonna be flowing, correct?
No, they're still using the same plans with, as far as the rain gardens, everything
All right,
is.
that's fine.
All right. So you need a one-year extension. This one was dated this expires July 21st, 2017.
Bob, one quick thing. Do you have any of the new plans that you're gonna be doing for this?
I'm waiting on them from using the barnyard out in. They're out of Connecticut. They've done work in Putnam and Westchester before.
Do we want those plans submitted?
No,
in the file?
because here's what we're looking at, right?
Yeah.
The footprint's the footprint. We'd have no structural drawings in these plans. And we have no idea what the barn is gonna look at. But what we do have is we have the footprint, we have the location of the rain gardens, and as long as it doesn't exceed the 24 by 36, there's no change. Whether it's cosmetically or aesthetically, if it's changed, as long as it doesn't exceed the footprint, I don't really see an
Square
issue.
footage of the roof is
Just wanted to
the
make sure
same,
nothing's
right?
incorrect.
Oh yeah, that's same thing.
Okay, so do I have a motion to extend the
Make
permit?
that motion.
Can I finish it first?
No.
Can I have a motion to extend the permit number 917 to Patrick McGovern from 7/22/2017 and expires on 7/21/2018 for 1 year. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You're a funny guy, you know that? You like Bob Hope.
I work with him.
Next one, New York City DEP. Escrow return. They don't have to be here for that, do they? Let's see if there's anything.
Was there anything that
In the
Rich
file.
said or something?
We need something from Rich, right?
Yeah.
I don't see anything from Rich.
Acting wetlands.
So we're gonna shelve this until I get something from the wetlands inspector.
Nobody's here for that?
Nobody's here for this either. So I'll shelve, there's nothing here.
Was east, west, anything?
Oh, and Amanda Locke from the this is from East West Forestry. They're saying that the work had been completed. Doug Ramey wrote, so I guess that's,
That
this
should
was a
be
tree cutting
sufficient.
permit for that. This should be sufficient. Okay, so the next item is New York City DEP, Lockwood Lane and Dixon Road, tree cutting permit for 11 trees. There's a memo, there's a letter in the file from Doug Ramey saying that, although the project, the tree cutting project on Barrett Pond had been completed, I inspected this project for permit compliance today, 3/2017. I found the project to be satisfactory complete and as detailed in the application materials. The trees on the log landing area had been cut and removed. The landing was cleared of all tree debris or material. Although the project was covered in snow, so that I could not personally observe this, Mrs. Locke assured me that the landing area had been seeded and mulched, gravel material was applied on the access road from Dixon Road to the landing, and water bars and other water diversion devices installed as required by their contract. I am satisfied with the condition of the property and hereby sign off the permit. Do I have a motion to return the escrow in the amount of $575 to the DEP? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so
What about payment of the forester's fee?
it's right here.
It's been paid.
Yep. The original escrow was 1,000. He only charged us 4 1/4, so they get 575 back.
Okay.
Eligible for permit, number 3, Lake Plaza Shopping Center, 983-1005 Route 6, amended site plan. Man. Oh, eligible for a permit. Okay. So could you please state your name and,
Yes. Geraldine Tortorella of Hockerman, Tortorella, and Wexstein. We're counsel for the applicant. Our office is in White Plains. This is Patrick O'Leary from VHB, our engineering and planning firm, and Pablo Maderos from the applicant is here this evening as well. You've met Mr. Maderos in the past.
okay, so you have an amended site plan?
No, what we have is, when we were here in February, we made our initial presentation to you. You had asked for some additional information, and we had supplemented our presentation to you. You told us you were satisfied, you published the notice, no comments, you told us to go away, get our DEP and DEC approvals, and come back.
Right.
In the interim, DEP made some tweaks to the stormwater pollution prevention plan. So there are some modifications to our site plan, which we've summarized for you, but none of them are in the area of your regulatory jurisdiction. But we wanted to point them out to you so that there wouldn't be any confusion. And just in the spirit of full disclosure, we wanted to make sure that you knew that we had made, that these tweaks had been made to the site plan.
Okay.
So we've given you a summary memo from VHB summarizing them. We can go over them quickly so you know you've seen where the changes are. You can be comfortable that what they are and whether or not they have any effect. They
Gave
did
us a
not.
memo
We
from
did.
VHB.
We did. Mr. O'Leary
This was
can,
dated April 28th?
May 30th, 2017 is the VHB memo.
All right, I got one April 28th. I do not have the VHB.
Is it April? No, it's May 30th. May 30, 2017?
Found it.
Okay.
There you go.
Also, if you remember, we were here in February of this year for a tree cutting permit because we were under the gun to complete that work
Right,
by
which is what
March
we-
30th,
we
or the end of
granted.
March. You did. And at that time, we did mention to you that these changes were, some changes had been made on the site, and we also mentioned to you that we were augmenting our landscaping plan. So that is also part of what we have submitted to you.
Okay. You want to walk us through your changes?
Sure.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Patrick O'Leary, PE principal with VHB, 50 Main Street, White Plains, New York. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I have some individual handouts for you to
Sure.
facilitate.
Hey.
Everybody have a copy of enough copies of the memo?
Yeah, thank you.
I have two, that's good.
Thanks. We can
I'll
share,
just
that's
take
fine.
one more for the file. Color copies aren't cheap. Thanks. We're good.
There you go.
Okay, there we go, thank you. The changes that have occurred since the plans were last reviewed primarily are associated with comments received through the DEP and DEC permitting process. What they had requested is in the area of Basin 1 and Basin 2, that those respective basins be enlarged, preference being above-ground stormwater treatment as opposed to the sand filter. That corresponded to the basins being enlarged. There was a retaining wall added to construct the basin because of the enlargement of the basin. And similarly, this basin over here in this area was enlarged and the landscaping was enhanced along the Baldwin Avenue side. There was a corresponding decrease associated with the size of the underground sand filters, of course, because the basins are getting larger. There are a few other minor modifications, the utility corridor here, gas, electrical, minor modifications that have switched full disclosure on it. Very minor changes in the configuration dimensionally on the loading dock. It's a matter of inches, but just to disclose everything that has changed. And then similarly, there's a landscape island over here. Landscaping was enhanced within that island. Additional trees were added in lieu of some shrubs here in that area. That constitutes the changes that have occurred since you last reviewed and approved the plans. You can see the line of the regulated area right here as it wraps around. None of these changes proposed are within the regulated area itself. And it is our opinion, and of course the opinion of DEP who provided these comments, that overall will provide improved level with respect to water quality and overall sustainability for the site. So we'd respectfully request acceptance of these proposed changes and continue on with final issuance of the permit.
The total area of disturbance obviously increased a little, right?
No change in the area of disturbance because this area was being disturbed for grading purposes back here anyway, originally.
Right.
So essentially what it did is it increased, you can see the contours in this area over here. It steepened the contours a little bit, but
20-foot drop.
right, it didn't change the limits of disturbance associated with it. No changes in the grading patterns, no changes in stormwater runoff patterns, no changes with respect to quality and/or peak rates associated with the proposed development.
When you say no changes within regulated area, you mean you are also including within the 100-foot buffer of any wetland?
Correct. That's the blue line we
Blue
have
line,
here.
yeah.
The blue line's the 100-foot buffer.
Correct.
for the
And
rest
there's
of
no change, for example, in this area here, there are no changes within that area. That's an area that lies
There's also a
within.
wetland down there on the right-hand side, right?
Correct, and there's no changes
No
down there.
changes over there. So the only
Correct.
changes are the two detention ponds, the sand filter, And some minor utilities.
minor utilities that are underground and not within that area in the landscaping here.
Outside the wetland buffer, so.
What was the increase in size of the basin number one?
This is approximate, but it's about double.
That's fine.
It's about double the size,
About double the size.
yes.
Do you have,
And number two,
I don't know the size, I don't have a relative increase. Same, it's about double.
Doubled in size.
what, it seems,
The reason they do that is we were not proposing it only because we were trying to minimize the disturbance in those areas. And we were relying more heavily on the sand filter for a water quality perspective. DEP's preference, and it is correct in nature, would be to have above ground, more natural means of managing stormwater quality, which would incorporate increasing the size of the respective basins. There's always a balance relative to construction, depth, things of that nature. We reached a very amenable agreement with DEP and a consensus working together that the overall formation of the two basins in conjunction with reduction of the sand filter would be best for the environment.
and you have a maintenance schedule for the sand filter on the plans, or a plan for the maintenance of the sand filter?
Maintenance schedule and agreement has been submitted both for the sand filter, for the two respective basins here, catch basins, the water quality unit.
And where is
There is-
all that, in the SWIP? Or the, because I'd like that for my file. Here's what I need. I'm very needy. I need to see the copy of the DEP approval, I need to see a copy of the DEC approval, and I need to see the maintenance schedule.
Okay, we filed the DEP approval, we filed the DEC approval with our submission, so you should have a copy of those things, those items, and,
I see the only thing I see here is July of last year, and that was where they said it's incomplete. But let me go tear through the file.
oh no, and I actually have a copy, I only have one copy, but I'm happy to give you the copy that I have of each of those approvals. And with respect to the maintenance program, there is a set of protocols in the SWIP, and we have them attached to the stormwater maintenance agreement that we must record against the property as a condition of the site plan approval. That's been prepared and submitted and was recently approved by the planning board attorney, so we're in the process of getting that executed. But one of the schedules to that is a set of protocols for the maintenance schedule. And here are the two approvals.
Yeah, I'm gonna need those, please. Okay, so the DEP,
That's the DEP.
March 6, 2017, that your application to engage in the above reference regulated activity was approved on March 6, 2017. They reserve the right to modify, suspend. You're not going to appeal it because you're happy with the response. And signed by Mary Galasso. Okay. DEC, please. This is the permit for the DEC, regulated the work. And this was fill and grade approximately 0.3 acres and 100-foot adjacent to the freshwater wetlands, construct unpaid parking. Effective date 5/18/17 to 2020. All right, Vince, you want to see these, or are you good?
yeah, sometime, but right now, I'd like to ask a question. Basin number one, for the engineer, could you just give us a rough idea of how it's going to function?
I can have these, right?
And its structure?
The basin itself here is essentially going to function the way the original
Did you do any infiltration studies? What kind of,
Microphone, please.
could you describe those studies?
There geotechnical studies with respect to soil borings out there in the area, as well as test pits for, within the specific areas. And the soils are tight out there. They're,
Describe, when you said your test pits, how did you determine infiltration rate?
by percolation testing,
You did a percolation test?
yes.
What was the
You
perk
just,
test?
you just basically dug a hole and waited for the water to drop down?
That, it's a little more complicated than that, in that we dig to the the area, the exposed area, the intended exposed area there. So we are at the level elevation of the soils and perform the percolation test. We don't do the percolation test at surface areas, because that would not be representative of the soil strata where the infiltration would be taking
Did
place.
you use an infiltrometer?
I do not believe they did, no.
Okay, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the regulations require you to use an infiltrometer, perhaps a double ring infiltrometer in order to determine infiltration rates, because percolation tests, the way you've described them, are really not reliable.
But it wasn't designed for infiltration purposes, so we're taking,
You said that you.
we're allowing it to, anything to infiltrate, but the design did not take into account infiltration rates. It's designed to detain the water. But you want to allow anything that will infiltrate naturally to go back and recharge the groundwater from that perspective.
So if I were to look at your calculation would strictly be on a detention basis, not taking into account any infiltration. But
Correct.
you hope to have some infiltration.
We hope to have some infiltration. We want to take advantage, as opposed to a closed system that does not take advantage of it. You take advantage of it because it's benefit from an environmental perspective, and allow what will happen to happen. You just don't take it into account in your design calculations, because it would be erroneous, and it certainly would not be conservative in any way, shape, or form.
Well, then why did, I'm saying DEP wanted you to just double the size of the basin? I don't understand that. I mean, just to offset the sand infiltration that you had?
Well, it not only does it offset the sand infiltration, but it allows a larger area for the water to settle in, as opposed to having water concentrated at higher depths. If you make the basin larger, it's going to spread out, and you're going to have less turbulence and greater opportunity for removal of the suspended solids.
Do you know what the perk rate is?
No, I do not, offhand.
What in fact, what you're doing by increasing the surface area, you're decreasing what's called the surface overflow rate, which does improve sedimentation.
Correct.
But when you said double the size, did you double the size of the volume, or just the area that?
It's the area of the basin. If you look at the originally approved plans, the basins were about half the size in their horizontal projection.
The way I'm looking at this, Vince, is I appreciate the fact that they have identified the changes they made to us. The DEP and the DEC have in fact given us their blessing, and that would be part of our conditions to approve a permit. The details of these items are really addressed and reviewed and approved by our friends at the DEP and DEC, and, you know,
That doesn't mean we can't ask questions.
I'm not putting baby in a corner.
Have you been before the planning board again with this?
We have not been, because we've been keeping Mr. Carnazza and Mr. Franzetti apprised and consulting with them, and they have determined that none of these changes has required us to return to the planning board.
Okay, and so do you currently have an approved planning board, permit?
We have an approved site plan. We're working on satisfying the outstanding conditions, this being one of them, as well as some of the other requirements. We have pull together our bonds, the security that we have to post. We will be providing that to the town within the next week or so is my expectation. So we are getting very close to being ready to put a shovel in the ground, so to speak, once we're able to get this approval.
That'll need to be a condition, right? Planning board approval needs to be a condition, or is that met through this?
No, we
They
don't put
miss
that
plan.
condition on here. They're gonna, before they can get the permits to start, they're gonna have to have the planning board approval.
Gotcha, okay.
We have it, we need to get the site plan signed.
Got it.
And so satisfying each of the conditions is a prerequisite to having the site plan signed.
Okay.
And
Last,
we've been working very closely with both Mr. Carnazza and Mr. Franzetti as we've gone along, because it's not a small project.
understood. Just for the board's knowledge, last time that this specific permit came before the board on June 16th, we had a number of notes, and they've all been addressed except for one thing that we made note of, which is that the board reserved the right to hold a public hearing if we thought it was necessary. So I just want to make sure that we address that either
I have
by
no
saying
comments
we
from the public.
do or do not.
I don't think they've had public hearings through the planning board to do this project. I have no, this has been in the file for a year plus. I have no comments from it, and I think those all would have been addressed through the planning board.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't believe we really need to either. I just wanted to make sure we addressed that comment from last time.
Okay.
I appreciate that you came before us to let us know all of this is happening outside the wetland buffer. So all the stuff looks like a net improvement.
I think at the end of the day, it is, and I think it was important for you to see what the status of the site plan is, even though it's not directly related to the wetland and wetland buffer. It's not within the wetland and wetland buffer, let me say it that way.
But
Okay.
we're improving stormwater quality, so is the proposed start date changed for this project?
I can't remember what we told you the proposed start date was, but we're looking to be able to start right after the 4th of July.
What's the cycle of till completion?
About a year for
65
100% completion.
One other thing I'd like to address, so when you came before us for the tree cutting permit, one of the things that we talked about, and I realized there's separate permits, and then we kept them that way. One of the items that I brought up at the time was due to the addition of trees being taken down from the original permit, I had requested whether or not, up to the applicant, of course, if you would plant additional trees. And at the time, you had mentioned that you were, had already worked that out, and that you were intending to plant additional trees pursuant to the, if I'm not mistaken, the planning board at the time. Are those reflected, the additional trees that you're gonna be planting, are those reflected in the latest drawings and plans you submitted to us?
They are. They are not the separate, they're not on this summary sheet, they're not on the illustrative, what I call the illustrative plan. They're on the landscaping plan, which is C-18. We did give you a full set of the C-18 plans. We gave one or two full sets, and then we also provided it electronically. So I have a small size of it if you'd like to see.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure it was submitted and addressed.
Yeah, we gave you the full set of plans only so that you would have all the details in case you wanted to look at something.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, with that being said, there were no comments or questions from the public. The escrow fee has been paid for $1,000. We have to just do the EAF and the signed permit. So with that, do I have a motion to grant the permit number 935 to Lake Plaza Shopping Center LLC, 234 Gloucester Dock Road, Gloucester, New Jersey, for work at 983-1005 Route 6, Mayapack, New York, with the following conditions: the $1,000 escrow has been paid, and notify the town wetland inspector for inspections of erosion control, silt fencing prior to commencing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good summer.
You too.
You too.
Happy
Well.
4th.
Thank you.
Aye.
All right, we just gotta do the EAF. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with it?
Why do we issue a tree permit?
I'll get that in a minute. You weren't here for that.
Right.
I'll explain, let me finish this and then I'll go through it. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of the land use? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of existing community? No.
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable, available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies or public-private wastewater treatment facilities? No to both. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources, example, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No.
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to the environmental resources, or human health? No. They came in here at the request of the planning, you were away, and they needed to cut some trees down before the bats or some season started.
Right.
So, due to the fact that this permit was in the process of being approved, and the DEP and DEC were imminent, they had requested a tree cutting permit to cut down 11 trees in that area in advance of this wetland and the planning board approval. So they came before us
I got you. I'm just wondering why they had to do it.
by the book, Vince.
No, it was by, yeah.
Okay, next item is Peckham Materials Cost, 1181 Route 6, submission of application or letter of permission for a tree cutting permit. Please state your name and who you're here to see.
Christopher Prentice, Lower Hudson Forestry Services, representing Peckham Industries for a tree cutting permit
Okay,
at the intersection of Route 6 and Drewville Road.
and how many trees are you taking down?
140 trees, over 41 acres. It comes out to be approximately 5 an acre. The property is managed under the DEC's 480A Forest Tax Law Program. So it's being managed by a professional forester under the supervision of the DEC forester, and it's also enrolled in the Watershed Agricultural Watershed Forestry Program, which helps logging and forest landowners to maintain water quality by installing erosion control devices, replanting where necessary, and providing stormwater prevention items such as silt fence, hay bales, seed hay.
Type of machinery you're gonna be using back there?
It's just a hand cutting and cable skidder. It's not a large job where it would take mechanized machinery and things like that.
Do you have an inventory of the trees you're cutting?
Yes, sir. There's a volume report attached. Shows generally oak species, but there is some black birch and sugar maple and aspen, but it's predominantly oak species.
Any specimen trees back there that you're cutting?
No, the property's been cut at least twice before. So the last time it was cut was 2001, and it was harvested likely sometime in the 80s before that.
And it's a full removal you're going to haul all the tree remnants away, or are you gonna fly chip there, leave chips, or is it all going out?
No, only the logs go out, the tops get lopped, and they're left to decompose.
It's
And,
350 trees you're cutting down.
excuse me?
It's 350. 221 saw trees to be removed, as well as 139 hardwood pulp firewood trees.
Well, the volume report's 140 and 112 firewood pulp trees.
Well, then this is wrong.
Which one are you looking at?
I'm looking at the DEC, May 4th, 2017. To Mr. Bauer, New York State DEC has reviewed the submitted materials regarding the above referenced project. The proposed consists of commercial thinning of 57 acres. How many acres did you say it was?
The actual cutting's 41. The stand area is 57.
Okay.
But
The
where
tax
they,
parcel to be harvested is land currently enrolled in the program. There are 221 saw trees to be removed, as well as 139 hardwood pulp fire trees. We offer the following comments, and, you know, they don't have an issue with, because it's part of the program, right?
well, what they're addressing is the presence of the long-eared bat within 3 miles of the project.
Right. And what about the wildlife that live in the tree? Isn't there a special time of year that you're not allowed to do it? I kind of need also a count of where, I really need the real number of what you're removing. Because one letter says one thing, you're telling me something else.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm gonna have to talk to the DEC because, I think it was Lisa Massey, where she came up with those numbers, I don't know, because this is the volume report that was submitted with the application.
Can I see that? So it's 100, total timber trees 140.
Correct.
Timber.
So there's a timber, so there's a discrepancy between here and here. So we have to kind of make it right, right?
Yeah, I understand that.
They've already done 60 trees back 10 to 15 years ago. And here's the report. Says 140 trees. This, they can work, they can work. So we kind of need, you gave us the contract that the guy's gonna, the blogger's gonna, is gonna remove the trees. You gave us a copy of the contract in here, which is fine. The cost of it. You need to give us a copy of the deed for the land, for the property. Because that's part of the process, right? So we need a deed to be submitted.
This is interesting.
We need to have the tree count verified, right?
The location and some of the trees, at least some of the trees would be interesting. Some of the slopes are very, very steep,
Yeah.
significant slopes.
Steep slope.
The area on the map outlined in red is where the trees are gonna be harvested
Yeah,
from.
but some of the areas have significant slopes.
Can you just, on this map, identify where the groups are gonna be? You're just giving me an area.
Well, I mean, they're generally spread out. There's not gonna be any groups opening up large
And where's
areas.
the road in and out, the logging road in and out, typically we get to see? They show that?
The
The
dot-
staging area?
The Ls on the map are the staging area. The dotted black lines are the skid trails and road out.
They're existing,
They're existing. They've been used, like I say, twice before. It's a asphalt batch plant. It's probably 6 or 7 acres of open gravel area. That's what the staging area is gonna be. So it's not, there's no construction of a new landing or anything like that.
The 100-foot buffer, I mean, is that depicted by a line out here at all? 100-foot buffer zone from the wetland? From the wetlands, maybe?
There isn't a depiction, but the wetlands are all well off the property with well past 100 feet. And then, mind you, there's a 150-foot buffer between the property line and the harvest area.
Okay.
And that's due to the fact that there's a fair amount of residential in that area. And Peckham didn't want to cause any issues, so.
So you're gonna reuse the existing trails, right?
Yes.
Scale,
You're gonna have to provide that in,
1 foot's
some
100
sort of
feet. So 1
letter.
inch.
What are the conditions of the trails now?
They're actually in fairly good condition. They were stabilized in 2001 during the last harvest. So they are not showing any signs of erosion, any things like that.
You have to set up an appointment with Doug Ramey.
I spoke to him last week, and I believe Rose called him and sent him the application. So I don't know if he's gone out there or not, but
All right, I'll call Rose Monday. You may want to follow up, make sure you get out there, because we usually have a pre-inspection just to verify what you're giving us he's happy with, right?
right.
Would it be a good idea for us to go out and take a look at this site?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Would it be a good idea for us to go out and take a look at this site?
If you'd like to, go ahead.
I mean, ultimately, what I'm requesting is that you have a provision in your law that there's an exemption for 480A if you decide to grant it. It's not automatic. And a few years back, you granted a partial exemption from the permit process for Putnam County Fish and Game, if you remember. I had to present the application. The forester went out and looked at it, but I was exempt from doing the public hearing and the follow-up meetings. So that's ultimately what I would like to, or that's what I'm requesting ultimately.
I would also like to point out that Mr. Bauer, certified forester, the last line of his memorandum to, I believe, the town of Carmel here, where he presents his forestry management plan. To facilitate this process, I might suggest that the ECB's review takes place, including public hearing. Then we could bid the sale of select of the contractor, which is a 4 to 5 week period, and the final permit could be issued. So you are asking for an exemption. The forester in here is also indicating that it may be beneficial for us to go through the full process, but it's something we can take into consideration.
Like I say, he mentions it in his initial letter as well to the board, asking for the exemption under your guidelines. So, like I say, I understand it's not
But you
automatic.
gotta understand where I'm coming from, right?
Oh, well clear of the rest.
So you're asking for, in one page, you're asking for an exemption. In another page, you're asking for a public hearing. In one in one chart, you're asking for 140 trees. Another tree, it's 220 trees. There's some inconsistencies in your package.
I understand that.
And I can't just make it consistent, just, by the way of a pen. I have to, write as,
Right, no, I understand that. And what I'm suggesting is that I clear up the inconsistencies and we have another meeting.
okay.
I'm not saying, give me an exemption right now, but ultimately, what I don't want to do is go through 5 meetings. And, I mean, especially if the code says that I can request an exemption under the 480A forest tax law. So if I can provide some other information in regards to the discrepancies, then maybe we can
Are
discuss
the
it.
trees marked that are gonna be cut?
Yes, sir.
They're marked.
You sure?
I am.
Big trails,
I'd like to go out there.
Okay, I'm just jamming with family stuff the next 2 weeks. So,
That would, I'd go out soon and just expedite it, but we've had these tree things,
Yeah.
last couple that have been,
Yeah, no, no.
always have, I would go out there, and it seems to be pretty steep here, too. Okay, and the inconsistencies that you mentioned.
So we don't know if Doug Ramey has been out there yet, do we?
Like I say, that's not my obligation to know that. That's Rose.
Well, don't you usually
sent him.
meet him when he's goes out to a site, either you or the forester? Go out to meet him? I know in
Typically
the
for the
past-
initial one, no. The last few that I've done here, and I've only met him at the end when he does the final inspection,
Okay.
so,
How do we arrange for a site visit?
for myself to go out or for
Well,
Doug?
For one of us or more of us to go out.
I can arrange it for you, if you give me a day and a time.
Okay, give me a phone number and I'll let you know.
Okay. I'll give you my card.
I could go too.
Looks like two of us will go out.
Give me a call or an email.
Okay, thank you.
And so what I'd like to do, guys, is I'd like to table or chair or shelve this application right now.
I'd like to ask one other quick question before. So I'm reading through the long-eared bat, if I'm not mistaken, that's what
That's who,
what it
with
is.
the long-eared bats.
The,
Right.
what did it say specifically? Northern long-eared bat, right, okay.
Yep.
So what specific requirements are you gonna be following here in order to protect this, the endangered species?
The only requirement legally that I have to follow is not cut any hollow trees and not cut any roost trees. Since we're past the quarter-mile buffer around the hibernaculum, there's no seasonal restriction. It's just a matter of cutting
But you're not
trees
allowed,
that,
you're not allowed to cut
Through October.
what did you say? You're not allowed-
hollow,
hollow.
trees with cavities that they could potentially use in the future.
Have you marked those?
No.
You only mark the trees that
That
are
you're
going to
gonna
be
cut.
culled, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Roost trees, bats are flying.
So the northern long-eared bat's
Yep.
quite a bit different than Indiana bat, where if you're within 5 miles of their hibernaculum, it's automatic seasonal restriction. A lot of times they say you can't cut hickory, but the northern long-eared bat, the DEC and the Fish and Wildlife Service has determined that logging is not the cause of their decline. It's basically white nose syndrome, which you can't stop, so,
You said this area has been cut, as far as you know, twice before.
yes, sir.
Actually, twice before.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
The 80s and what other time,
2001, 60 trees was removed.
60?
60.
Yes.
Gotta keep my mouth shut.
I'm all for moving it along. I'll try to go out there quick.
All right,
Take a
so
look
why
at
don't we
it.
just, he's got to revise, he
He-
owes us
he-
a few things. The way I look at it right now, he needs to give us a deed to be submitted with the package.
Right.
He has to verify the tree count. He's gonna give us a letter stating they're gonna reuse the existing trails. We're gonna verify that he's set up an appointment with Doug Ramey to make sure that he's gone out.
All yours.
And we're gonna make sure that the long-eared bat and robin are safe.
So the contractors you're gonna be using too, so there's a couple other things that I can think off the top of my head from previous ones. One is, contractors, I know you're gonna, it's not out for bid yet, if I'm correct, right?
No, not yet.
So when the contracts do go out for bid, we do require, or we customarily ask for the insurance certificates of any contractors you'll be using for this, including transportation contractors if they're separate from your
Right,
logging.
you're gonna have to give us a road bond.
Second one is you have to talk with our
Highway.
highway department and submit a couple of things. One is the road bond if they require it. The second is a safety plan. Now, I know this is coming out of an industrial section, so I suggest checking with the highway superintendent, making sure that he's okay with it. But in the past, just so you know, we've asked for, like, give us a flagging plan, when are the trucks gonna be entering and exiting?
Right.
Especially considering this is a main road, like going out onto Route 6, right? Is that the exit that you're gonna be using? It'll be important just to verify with him, and if you can get something in writing for us, just letting him know that he's seen this. He's comfortable with the exit and egress, he's comfortable with safety, and you don't need a road bond, or you do need a road bond. I think that would be appropriate for this board.
Fueling plan, if you're gonna refuel
Yes.
equipment on site.
You
And a spill kit.
Bill kit, yes. Yeah, I thought you lost your touch there for a second.
You're getting a little rusty, Vince.
I thought I was gonna have to say it.
Skid trails. Are the skid trails, so they're existing trails, I assume they're, I mean, we could check when we go out there, they probably don't need to be marked if they're existing and they've been maintained.
They're actually all flagged in.
Oh, they are, great, even better.
That's part of the requirement for the Watershed Ag Council. If they're gonna fund the program, everything has to be flagged.
Awesome.
Okay, so what we'll do
Alright,
is,
that's it.
they'll set up a meeting with you. That gives you, next meeting's July
Yeah, it's not for a while.
13th.
It's perfect. I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks in between, so I'll be here for the 13th.
You'll be nice and relaxed.
I'm pretty relaxed right now, so.
So July 13th is the next meeting, because July 4th, the week of the July 4th is the town carnival and parade, so that kills the traffic here. But just get you can get the information in ahead of time. Rose can get it out to us,
Okay,
and then we'll review it.
fair enough.
What,
And they'll set up, can I have that package?
Do you want to set something up for next week,
Keep it.
yeah, when are you going away? So what
next Friday?
not this Friday, next Friday.
Right.
Okay.
There
so-
could be somebody else.
A week from
as long as
tomorrow.
Somebody can walk us
No,
around.
I know,
that,
but
right?
we want to talk to him first, yeah.
Got it.
I didn't want him to be out of town and try to contact
I
him.
mean, if you could, if it doesn't work out, I can always have Mr. Bauer come down as well.
Mr. Who?
Mr. Bauer is he's the forester that originally did all of the work, but he lives 2 hours away.
Right.
So he asked if I'd come and represent him and Peckham instead.
Where's he?
Caro?
Wow.
He does, Peckham owns a lot of
Yeah, they
quarries
have a lot
over,
of quarries.
over near him, so that's one of his big clients. And they asked him to do this project over here.
And
so-
you're going to also fix the contradiction.
Yes, I understand.
All right, so we'll put you on hold.
Fair enough. 13th then?
When do you hope to do the work?
The 14th.
No. Everything goes as planned. Bids maybe in August, bid opening sometime September, so it won't be until late fall, winter project. So, and it's also, since it is a batch plant and they're going pretty hot and heavy right now, you're not gonna wanna be in there at the same time as when they're working. You
Yeah,
know,
they're
there's
pretty much shut down.
30, 40 trucks going in and out of there a day.
Right.
So if the logging with only 2 or 3 trucks a day, or a week, I'm sorry, it's kind of, it's not much, but it still could cause an issue, so it would be sometime in the late fall.
Do you know anybody who works with Peckham?
Works with them?
Yeah, any of their employees or anything, do you know any?
No. But,
I thought might know someone there, so,
no, unfortunately not. Anything else?
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
See you.
Good evening.
Bye-bye.
We'll be in touch.
Okay,
His father used to work there.
last item is minutes for 5/18/17. The only one that can't vote is Mr. Barnett. So do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes for 5/18/2017?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good night. Have a nice weekend, and a happy 4th of July.
Don't run away, I want to show you something.